from the former director of national intelligence, James Clapper. He's a CNN national security analyst. General Clapper, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks, Wolf.
Just getting some quotes from the new acting Attorney General of the United States, Matthew Whitaker, of what he told a radio station back in March of 2017. He said it's clear, in his view, no crime has been committed, what Mueller is investigating. He said the left is trying to promote this theory. But let me read to you a direct quote from this interview. So this is this theory that essentially Russians interfered with the U.S. election, which has been proven false. They did not have any impact on the election, and that has been very clear from the Obama administration. They're trying to suggest that essentially the Trump campaign had these deep ties into Russia, which is not true. And that is, I guess what the, the fleet is that somehow Russia and the Trump campaign, sort of conspired to influence the election. I mean, it's crazy. So you investigated all of this when you were director of national intelligence. What do you think of what he suggested in March of 2017?
I strongly disagree that the Russians had no impact on the outcome of the election. Now, it's true that in the intelligence community assessment that we rendered on the 6th of January of 2017, briefed then the President-elect Trump at Trump Tower, we made no call about that because the intelligence community doesn't have the authority or resources or capability to do that. So, but as a private citizen, and I make this point in the book, to me it stretches credulity and logic to think that the Russians didn't have profound impact on the outcome of the election, given the magnitude of the effort they mounted to try to influence it.
So the question is that whether or not, with these strong views that he has on the Mueller investigation, is he the right person to oversee what Robert Mueller and his team are doing, or should he recuse himself?
Well, personally, I'm saying this as a layman, not as an attorney, but as I understand the recusal rules at the Department of Justice, if there's even the appearance of potential conflict, you're supposed to recuse yourself, which is what Jeff Sessions, erstwhile Attorney General, did, and which I think was completely appropriate. So, and given what he is, Mr. Whitaker has said and written about the Mueller investigation, I think there's clearly a conflict.
You believe the president decided to fire Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, and to not name the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, to become the acting Attorney General because he's trying to obstruct the Russia investigation by putting someone in charge who agrees with him that it's basically a sham?
Well, it may not be so blunt as to investigation. What I think, my own theory here is, what I think the reason for installing Mr. Whitaker as the acting general, the legality of that aside, is to gain access to just what evidence Mueller actually has. Because I think that's one thing that really bothers the president is it would appear to me, ignorance about what the evidence that Mueller may have against him.
So what you're suggesting is that Whitaker now oversees the Mueller probe. He's going to have access to everything that Mueller and his team have collected, and we assume he's collected a lot of information. He's going to take that information, drive over to the White House and brief the president.
Well, that's my speculation. That's certainly a possibility.
Is that appropriate?
I would offer that as a more likely immediate course rather than directly ending the investigation, firing Mueller and all that.
But is that appropriate for the acting Attorney General of the United States to tell the president, presumably the president's lawyers and his aides over there, but here's what Mueller has, get ready?
Well, I don't think so. No, I don't think that's appropriate. I think the investigation should be kept separate and independent. In fact, the Department of Justice is supposed to be separate and independent.
The Democratic Senator from Connecticut, Richard Blumenthal, he's a member of the Judiciary Committee, says, quote, "Our democracy is under attack," and he describes all of what's going on over the past couple of days as a slow motion Saturday night massacre. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, if I've been concerned about the assault on our institutions from the beginning of this administration, whether it's the Department of Justice, certainly the firing of Jim Comey could be seen as part of a very slow motion Saturday night massacre. And depending on what Mr. Whitaker actually does in relation to the Mueller investigation, yes, it could be a continuation of such an event.